How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and I am back for another...
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and we are continuing, like I said, with Centaur Comics, and this time...
Voicey shark doo 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 doo. Voicey shark doo 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 doo. Voicey shark doo 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 doo. Voicey shark.
What are you doing?
I'm performing Voicey Shark.
Why were you singing Voicey Shark?
It was a tribute to the Golden Age character.
I thought you were playing the Jaws theme.
Nope.
I honestly don't know where... Why?
Why not?
Oh, okay. Yes, we are reviewing the shark. This hero is odd. The consistency of the hero, some of the consistency is fine, but then at times they just seem to throw in random elements and constantly changing up what he does and where he can go. I'm not quite sure how to explain it. I mean, I go over it pretty well in the intro, but it's Centaur Comics, and as much as I appreciate some of the stuff that Centaur has given us, there's things like this that really make you go, huh? Okay. So this was one of their longer running features. The shark actually ran in 2 different publications, never had his own comic book named after himself, but he ran for a pretty good while. So, I mean, he must have had some popularity there for a little bit. A lot of the stuff, I think maybe he would have been more popular if it had expanded. Like, they kept saying that his father was Father Neptune and his mother was a mermaid. We never saw any mermaids. We never saw anybody else from the Undersea Kingdom besides him and his father. So let's go ahead and cover the shark. Don't do it again. And you'll get a little bit of an idea of one of their characters who was never a prominent feature, but was at least popular enough to continue for at least some time. So let's get into this. The Shark, real name unknown, first appeared in Amazing Man Comics number 6 in 1939. The original publisher is Centaur, and he was created by Lou Glasman. There's a bit to go into by the shark, and not quite sure where to begin. We're just going to go ahead and get into it. Now, the appearances of the shark are just shows what Centaur is when it comes to their comic book formats. The shark appeared in Amazing Man Comics number 6 to 22. The Amazing Man comic started with number 5. He was in Stars and Stripes 2 through 6. Stars and Stripes started with number 2. The weird thing about Stars and Stripes is the headliner for Stars and Stripes was actually Amazing Man for a couple of issues until they created a team called Stars and Stripes who started headlining the comic book. Now, although the Submariner was the first underwater superhero to premiere in comic books for a long time, it was believed to actually have been the shark, because the Amazing Man number 6 premiered in October, 1 month before Marvel Comics number 1, which would appear in October, November. Yes. But what and the reason it was believed that this is because people didn't know that the Motion Pictures comics, which premiered in April of 1939, actually existed. So the shark was believed to have been the the first aquatic superhero when it was, in fact, a mariner. Now, the shark was a strange creation. The only thing that he wore on for his costume was the blue trunks and a mask. And I have no idea why he wears a mask. He does not have a civilian identity. He is not widely known on the surface. He has no reason to be wearing a mask, but he does wear a mask in every issue. Now, for the most part, his adventures take place... Well, a lot of his adventures take place on the land. There's not a lot of people trying to invade the sea, but he would operate from the sea. One issue, he actually went out into outer space, and I don't even know how. You think, hey, the aquatic superhero would be perfect for going out and investigating a celestial object that's a lot closer to Earth than it should be. And at one part, they found Martians on a deserted island, which for some reason, when covered with water, melt. And if you have such a weakness to water, like in the movie Signs, why are you coming to Earth? Okay, let's start getting into some of the oddities about the shark. He is the king of the Undersea Kingdom. No other people from the Undersea Kingdom appear except for his father, Neptune. Now, what we find out later is that his father, Neptune, is not necessarily the god Neptune, but a given title given to him because Neptune goes into one of his own stories and talks about how he was the shark and his father was Neptune, but now that this man is the shark, he is Father Neptune. So, take that as you will. He has webbed feet and webbed legs, or webbed feet and webbed hands, which allows him to swim through water at an amazing rate of speed. Now, he's constantly seen in the company of sharks, which is why he was given the name of the shark. But where his father was talking about how he used to be the shark, I think the shark is also a title given to the undersea and not actually because of the sharks like most people claim. Now, he has incredible strength, their ability, speed, and the strength of 10 whales while underwater, but when he was on the surface, he didn't have any of that strength until he was given a knife to him by his father, Neptune, who also possessed this knife when he was the shark. So he gave him the knife so that he could have powers on the land as well as, the powers on land as he does in the water. And one of the interesting things about this knife is he was actually stabbed by it in one issue, but he thought he was dying when he really wasn't, because there is an inscription on the knife. This is halfway through the run of the shark. It wasn't mentioned before, and it's never mentioned again, but on the blade it says, "Use me not in evil, for I shall punish you 1,000-fold." And the person who did stab the shark, his plane went down and crashed. He died. Now, there's a couple of things that are completely inexplicable about the shark and his father Neptune, considering how those are the only two undersea creatures that we see. And his father is in almost in every issue, but not in every issue. There's a couple where he's not. His ability to hypnotize, which was only brought up in 3 comics and used once. Also, him and his father have the ability to travel through water. And I don't mean swimming in the ocean. I mean traveling through water. There was one point when he wanted to confront a criminal, so he came out of a glass of water. He was invisible. Said some hypnotic suggestions to the man so that his conscience would take over, and disappeared back in the glass of water. There was one, as I mentioned, the space adventure, where somebody was able to contact him through a television that he kept in his lair. We'll get to that in a minute. And as the guy goes, "Hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you," he disappears into a puddle of water and then reappears in the guy's lab. I have no answers for any of that. I honestly don't even know how to begin explaining it. They on some of the wiki sites, they say that the knife gave him the ability to teleport through water. That is never stated, and it's completely ridiculous that you can transform through a glass of water, or you suddenly make a puddle of water and travel through it. His father has the same ability. Of course, his father used to be the shark. This is one of the strangest creations. Now, he's gone through what you would expect. He stopped people who were trying to use the water for their own nefarious purposes, which didn't happen very often. He had the mistaken identity. He lost his knife once and was starting to get beaten until he got the knife back. Other than that, he never faced any peril. He had a high-powered television, like this gigantic wall monitor, that he could peer in on anybody, and he mostly watched criminals. And you'll get an idea about that when I cover the very first appearance. And keep in mind, what he does with this television set in the first appearance, he doesn't do in any other appearance afterwards. Now, he's had the ability to become invisible when above water. Some of the wiki site says that he's used illusions. He's made illusions of himself out of the water. That I don't remember seeing, but I didn't cold-hardly read every one. I mean, I went through every issue, but I didn't hard read every issue. I don't remember him making illusions out of water. Also, he was bulletproof when he was above water and had the knife, except for when he needed to be affected by things. Now, they mentioned a number of times bullets had bounced off of him. But then there was this one issue where they wanted to shrink him down for the sake of the plot, and the gunshot affected him and made him small, even though he had the knife and his body was invulnerable at that point. But at that point, he felt the pain of the shot and was rendered to be teeny tiny man. But how? The issue right before this, you show him being bulletproof, which means that gunshot that turned him into a little tiny man should never have happened. This is just one of the weirdest creations. I mean, the knife was kept as a permanent thing. His strength underwater, his toughness of skin. It's just, some of his powers were so out of the way and random. Now, to his credit, in his last couple appearances in Amazing Man and Stars and Stripes, they didn't say he will continue in the next issue, and there was credit to that. Now, for the most part, the shark was a backup feature, and in many of the comic books he appeared in, he was the last one. Now, occasionally he would be middle of the pack, and I think he only had one cover appearance, and that was on the Stars and Stripes Comics number 2. A couple of times he was mentioned on Amazing Man Comics, but he never owned a cover, and he never had a feature cover and feature story. So let's go ahead and cover the first issue so you can see the inexplicable nature of what they were trying to do with the shark and maybe get a better idea of where they were going to go with this character if he had continued for a long period of time, much longer than what he had. Enter! Punctuation mark. That is not a full sentence. Into the home of the shark. Humans call him the shark because he is most frequently seen in the company with a school of large man-eating sharks. But now we proceed to enter a secret home of His Majesty the Shark, king of all sea life. You know, I've seen him at the most in the company of 2 sharks, so what do we consider a school? There is the created by over there in the rocks. Okay. As we go through the tunnel, which no human has ever seen, we find at the end of a large steel door. When the door opens, you step into the airlock. Wait a minute. You can live in the sea. Why do you have an airlock? Okay, we start to describe the throne room and the castle. And there's another brief description of the shark, which the lead is supposed to be in the very first panel, but we have it right here. So let's go ahead and read this. And now, at last, we see the Shark Man himself. His name is the Shark Man himself. You will note his large webbed hands. His feet are also webbed. Then, too, you will note the sharks that are swimming around him. They are his friends, the same as the apes are to the ape man's friends. Okay. In water, the shark has strength of 10 whales and can swim as fast as the same. But out of the water, he has no more strength than a mere man. But the shark is gifted with a strong sense of hypnosis. He can make images of himself appear out of any water as if he were a genie. He doesn't make the images of himself appear out of water. He actually appears out of water. He travels through water, which I mentioned in the intro. I still don't understand how that works. Okay, so we see him on... I don't know why there would be dry land in your fortress. If you have no strength on the land, why would there be any non-water stuff inside your entire castle? So he stands in front of his television, which invention's unknown to the outer world, and apparently he can tune this into anybody, which... Okay, where is camera? And of course we have an arrow. I am smart enough to follow the panels without the arrows. The arrow is unnecessary. Well, boss, this is the 5th boat we've blown up this week. The Fravalians, and that's another country, are sure to go to war on the next one, and then we collect. I'm telling you, boss, we got a mint there in the ammunition plant. So he's talking about how they own ammunition. They want to sell it to this foreign country if they go to war over the U.S. Now, through his television projector, the shark throws his image. Yeah, I don't understand how this whole thing works, but he does throw his image through the television set. And he comes up looking like a ghost more than anything else. I'm Shark, protector of the sea. Abandon your schemes or suffer the consequences. I'm warning you. And then the other crooks start to get scared because they think that they're dealing with ghosts. And the boss calms them down. Now listen here, you guys. You just had too much to drink. I didn't see anything. Yeah, you did. So the other crooks go off, and then he starts to thinking to himself that he did see the image, but he can't admit that because then, they're not going to move forward. And we get a small exhibition dump here about how they want to blow up the ship. So that night we see his crew members going over to the ship, and then they plant a bomb. And as they leave, the shark is watching them, and he jumps on the boat. Now that they're gone, I'll just have a look around. Just as I expected. Just as you expect. Wait. You were able to tune your television to watching them in their hideout. And then when it comes to the boat, you have to find the explosive. Why didn't you just watch them place the explosive so you wouldn't have to look for it? You should have known exactly where it is. It says he quickly finds the deadly infernal machine. With his television, he should have already known where it was. Okay. So I guess the ship was being anchored into the water because it was... they were going to blow it up. But he jumps off of the... He jumps back into the water, breaks the anchor, and breaks the anchor chain as if it were string. And I'm guessing the boat's going to start to flow. Okay, boys, after this job is over, I'm sure the Flavalian government will declare war with the U.S. and then we'll be in the chips. I'd rather have the money. So they're sitting there and having a conversation about how the Fravalian government will believe that the U.S. is responsible for it. Meanwhile, After breaking the chain, the shark begins to push the boat to attract the U.S. Coast Guard, which he does very neatly. And we see one shark. Oh wait, there's a tailfin. 2 sharks! Which is the most I ever see him with, is at least 2 sharks. So what's a school of sharks? Okay. So the Ghost Guard happens to spot the boat, and they want to figure out why there is a boat being helmed by itself. Look, the boat is going without anyone at the helm. All hands on deck, prepare to board the ship. So at this point, the crooks have a plane, and they're flying over the ship, and they want to know who the other ship is. A Coast Guard ship is pretty evident, but he says, say, I wonder what the other boat is doing there. What's the difference? It'll get blown up too. So the shark is in the water, and he is preparing to leap out of the water to grab the airplane. How did you know the plane was right there? Okay, so he shoots out of the water and grabs this plane, which is above the 2 boats. We have another arrow. I didn't need your arrow. I'm smart enough to read the comic book. He somehow climbs up to the cockpit area, because that's where we see him throwing the crooks into the water. So we see a guy falling. I would have rather have had a panel to see how he climbed from under the plane of the wheel to the cockpit where they were at. And this is one of those like biplanes where they have the seats on the top of the airplane and not inside the plane style thing. Boy, I almost forgot. I got to tell the sharks not to hurt these men. But one of the henchmen actually gets eaten by the shark before he can tell them. He reaches the war makers too late for a group of sharks attacks one of them. I actually see it looks like 4 sharks there now. And let's see. The shark is in time to save the other one, but he puts a scare into them. Now the Coast Guard picks up this man, and we'll read the very last page. I'll talk, I'll tell you everything. It was us that was blowing up all them Fervalian ships. We wanted to start a war. Then our boss, who owns the biggest ammunition plant in the world, could sell his stuff. I'll tell you his name, where his home is. I'll tell you everything. I'll do anything, but whatever you do, don't let the shark get me. End. Watch for another complete story of the shark. Yeah, that's a henchman that you want. A one that knows everything and can get scared to the point where he turns on you. And that is the first episode of, or dish printing of the shark. The stories, it's 1939. What do you expect? I hope you like this character. I hope you didn't tune out the minute that the voice started singing Voicey Shark, which is the most ridiculous thing we've ever come up with in all of these videos.
We've done worse.
No, this is the worst. I have some other people on the list that I'm going to be doing here pretty soon. I've got another re-review right around the corner. If there's anybody else that you would like to see me cover on this channel, just go ahead and drop me a line. If there is actually a re-review that you'd like me to do before I choose the one I'm going to do, I'd be happy to do that as well. So, until next time, I'll be seeing you.